Thank you, Nick. Thank you to Nick and Michael. When Nick says 8 years, I'm thinking, God, is it 8 years? Sometimes it seems like a year. Sometimes it must seem for you guys like 20. But we couldn't have got anywhere in developing a global platform and media attention for the brilliant work of these young leaders without Seven Hills. So a round of applause for Seven Hills. I have been asked to be very brief. One Young World is about young leaders. It is not a youth platform. It is about young leaders. It is about all our hopes of the future. We started One Young World believing that if you gave young leaders, some sitting here, if you gave young leaders a shot, they really could make the difference. They have hope. They have time. They have energy. And here you see astonishing, astonishing courage. So we started, the first One Young World Summit had just over 800 delegates. We were here in London in early 2010. This year, the 9th summit will be in The Hague in October, from the 17th to the 20th of October, opened by the Prime Minister Mark Rutte with Queen Maxima and a host of other huge names who don't come to One Young World to be about themselves. They come to One Young World for the sole purpose of lending their stature to raising the profile of these young leaders. And in 8 national elections around the world this year, we have candidates standing. We have in Jaha Dukure, who you saw on the video there, our first Nobel Peace Prize nominee from among the delegates. This is an army of over 9,000 young leaders from every single country in the world who are already changing the world. 2.9 million impacts in 2017 alone. As I say, I could talk forever and ever about these young leaders, but you're going to see some of them very shortly. So we began in London. We went from there to Zurich, from Zurich to Pittsburgh, thence to Johannesburg, to Dublin, to Bangkok, to Ottawa, to Bogota last year, and to The Hague this year. And now I have a message for you from someone whose face will no doubt be very familiar to all of you. Could we run the tape, please?
In 2010, London hosted the first One Young World Summit. In the years since, One Young World has helped transform the lives of thousands of young people worldwide. Today, I am delighted to announce that next year, the 10th summit will be coming home to the UK. Hundreds of young leaders from over 190 countries will gather in our capital city. For centuries, London has been a crucible of creative thinking and the free exchange of ideas. The delegates who come here next year will work together to identify solutions to some of the most pressing issues facing our societies. Around the world, this generation of young people is the most informed, the best educated, and the most interconnected in human history. You have it within your power to make our planet a better place, to tackle historic injustices, and to seize the tremendous opportunities of the future. So in its homecoming year, I am proud to wish the One Young World Summit 2019 and everyone who will take part in it every success.
So, Thank you to the Prime Minister with a very brief word of thanks. I would like to thank the One Young World ambassadors who led the bid. Will Dixon and Ozzie Binns Clark, where are you? They're somewhere here. I've seen them. Congratulations. And also Nick Giles will be chairing our advisory board, and Sasha Romanovich is here today. And I'm sure Nick could talk further about that, but thank you. So many people in the audience to thank. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. So you're hearing that message from the Prime Minister first. We're announcing the news that London has secured the bid for hosting of the summit in 2019. In order to bring a little more colour, I'd like to welcome 3 of the brilliant ambassadors that have participated in former One Young World Summits to the stage: Fatima Zaman, Hussein Manawar and Simon Rogers. If you give them a round of applause, please. Is that ominous enough?
That's intense.
Right, so we've got a few minutes for a quick run through your personal experiences of One Young World, the reasons you got involved, and your personal experiences of what's happened since. So, Simon, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. So I was there in 2012 in Pittsburgh. I got involved because I just saw something on the intranet page of Aviva, who I've been working for quite a few years, asking for young people to get involved. Young people, however we define young people. So I decided to do it, went to One Young World, was just overwhelmed by everything that I saw, felt ridiculously inadequate, and then just been on my own journey since then to figure out what I'm going to do to make a positive impact in the workplace and in my community.
Fatima, why don't you go next?
So I am a bit of an accidental One Young World ambassador. Sorry to admit, Kate. I work in countering violent extremism. So not something you celebrate on a day-to-day basis, something that is one of the biggest social challenges of the contemporary epoch. And I do that as part of a role at the Kofi Annan Foundation, which searched for young leaders who were working in this field in partnership with One Young World. And so brought to the table by Mr. Kofi Annan in terms of my advocacy and activism in this field, I was given the opportunity to speak at One Young World, to leverage not only Mr. Annan's political will, but to combine it with my activism and that of other ambassadors and young leaders to be able to say that this is a problem that we care about, that this is a social issue, and it's not just young people who are disproportionately affected by extremism, but we also have the solution. And the diversity, the richness, and the culture of One Young World was that when I made that call and asked the entire community of ambassadors to say, will you help me fight violent extremism? Every single one of them said yes. And every councillor who was there, from Kofi Annan to Muhammad Yunus to the likes, said, we will help you. That is what One Young World is. It's about doing something, it's about having impact, and it's about supporting one another.
We say.
I never planned in my life to be an activist. It just kind of happened. I write poetry, I'm a poet, and I first spoke at One Young World in Bangkok in 2015. I delivered a keynote speech it was a suicide letter from a boy to his mum saying that he doesn't feel like living anymore. And the reception I got after walking off the stage was incredible. And just even sitting here now, I see Lord Michael Hastings in front of me. And he was one of the first people to come up to me and gave me his number. And all of a sudden, I'm WhatsApping the Lord. And life really, on a genuine level, really changed for me, because you have all these senior people from business, finance, sport, entertainment, talking to you saying, okay, you said that now, what are you going to do about it? Go and do something, like, we'll back you. And I'm just like, oh, wow. And I never thought, like, oh, it would be that easy. But I guess when you get, like, accepted into that, like, One Young World, like, family, it's more of like a tribe, and everyone really, like, roots and supports for whether it's violent extremism or mental health, whatever your field is. Even if people aren't experts in it, they will give you their expertise to help you further your mission, and it makes me very happy.
So what's the significance of One Young World coming back to London next year, and why would you encourage organisations and individuals here to get involved and support?
That's a good question. All right, so I see a lot of stuff here. I'm going to be real with you, yeah? I see a lot of bullshit, yeah? I get invited to a lot of conferences, and a lot of people actually think they're helping grassroots things by rolling into an area, putting up a few banners, handing out a few T-shirts, and what they don't realise, they actually make more damage to that environment than actually helping it. However, One Young World is, like, probably the only platform that I'm happy to put my brand, because yes, I'm a brand, and associate it with it, because when you get involved, you will meet people from the grassroots level, going all the way up to, like, Meghan Markle, and everybody is, like, familiar with everyone's work. Everyone knows of everybody. There's no structural hierarchy. There's none of this, oh, you can't talk to this person because that person's higher than you. Or there's none of that. People actually care. And to be involved in a room where you can sit in a room with people of such high stature that will back your cause and support you, whether, like what I was saying earlier, is very important. And I think London needs that more than ever, because unfortunately the media in London likes to paint us all with a very dark brush. So we've got a lot of light to spread, and this is the perfect way to shine that light
Sam, what's your perspective on One Young World coming to London?
I think when I spoke in 2012, I was speaking about LGBT, lesbian, gay, bi, trans equality. And one of the things I was saying was that the UK is often held up as this beacon of hope around the world for LGBT people. So I think it's important to reflect on what we've been doing in the UK, the progress that we've made since 2012, but also to reflect how complacency can be a big challenge as well, and how if we rest on our laurels, then these things, these equal rights, this equality that we see in our workplaces can be taken away much more easily than it was to fight for that equality to be granted. So I think it's time for reflection, and it's time to put more fire back in the belly of activists, create more activists, create more energy, and take our very bold and very strong messages from One Young World from the UK back out again.
Fatima, your reflections, having been very, very actively involved in the One Young World community.
I mean, London is home for me. I don't know if you can sense it from my accent. So it's incredibly wonderful to hear that One Young World is coming home. I think personally, on a very personal level in my field, we saw London attacked 4 times last year. The penetration of our democracy, the penetration of our communities and our families by violence has been something that we shouldn't stand for. But what One Young World signifies is that there is a community, there is a family, it is tribal, we back each other like it's unbelievable. And ambassadors support each other, the community supports each other. London needs this. One Young World has a home in any city because there are ambassadors from every country. But given what we have experienced over the last few years, the political disorder that we're experiencing, and also the disenfranchisement of our young people that we're experiencing when it comes to engaging meaningfully, London needs this. One Young World will show the best of London, the best of Britain, and it certainly will show the best of myself and my peers.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for our One Young World ambassador.